Welcome everyone to the monthly meeting of the Knoxville, Knox County Planning Commission. I'm Tim Hill, Chair of the Planning Commission, and I'll be conducting today's meeting. Assisting me today is the Executive Director of Knoxville, Knox County Planning, Amy Brooks, and the Planning Commission Attorney, Tasha Blakeney. I would like to call this meeting to order. I'll now ask Mr. DeArmond to call the roll.
Yes, Commissioner Uten.
Here.
Commissioner Boyer.
Here.
Commissioner Huber.
Here.
Commissioner Shelso.
Here.
Commissioner Perez.
Here.
Commissioner Browning.
Here.
Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner Levinson. Commissioner Biggs.
Here.
Commissioner Barger.
Here.
Commissioner Adams.
Here.
Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Midas.
Here.
Commissioner Overton.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
That's 12 present, sir.
Thank you, Mr. DeArmond. Participating today are planning commissioners as well as planning staff and various representatives of city and county agencies. The planning commissioners are citizens from the city and county who have been appointed by either the city mayor or county mayor. We receive no salary and volunteer our time as a service to our community. Now a word about how discussion will take place. After each item is called, I will read the staff's recommendation. On certain items, I'll call on staff to comment. At this time, the applicant may address the commission or defer his or her opening remarks and allow any opposition to speak first. The applicant and those in support of the applicant will be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. I will then ask for other comments from the floor. The opposition will also be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. If either side wishes to have an opportunity for rebuttal, you will need to reserve time from your allotted 5 minutes. Applicants and citizens who registered to participate and are attending the meeting in person will be asked to come to the podium and share their name and address for the record, where their item is being heard. Those who have registered to speak online at knoxplanning.org do not need to sign in at the podium. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item and have not registered to do so in advance, please raise your hand when the item is read into the record. I will then indicate when it's time for you to speak, and you can approach the podium at that time. You'll be asked to sign in at the podium as well as state your name and address for the record. If the Planning Commission decision on that item is appealed and we need to notify you, we cannot do so without your name and address. The Planning Commission may grant additional time for presentation of information. Speakers should limit their remarks to the facts of the case and should avoid repeating comments that have been previously presented to the Planning Commission. Because of the number of items that we have before us, groups in favor or opposed to an item have been asked to appoint a spokesperson to represent them. If you have any items that you would like to make a part of the record, please submit those documents to knoxplanning.org/share. Please identify the file number and meeting date in your submittal. I hope all of you have reviewed the agenda package from Planning's website. In addition to the agenda, there's information on the website related to how today's meeting will be conducted, as well as correspondence on individual cases. Many of the items that we vote on require further action by City Council or County Commission. For matters that are forwarded to the City Council for final action, the applicant or their representative should be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered. For matters forwarded to County Commission for final action, particularly rezoning requests, the applicant or their representative must, and I repeat, must be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered, or the case will, at minimum, be postponed. Applicants will be notified of the meeting date. If you have any questions regarding the meeting date or process, please contact planning staff. Today's meeting will be conducted in order of the agenda. Please stand as you are able as Vice Chair Chris Uten leads us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow your head, please. Our Father, bless this community. Help to ensure the decisions made this afternoon are fair, legal, and in the best interest of the total community. As always, keep us mindful of the needs of others, especially those who are in sorrow, need, sickness, or any other adversity. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are the postponement and withdrawal list, and I'll read these lists separately. Under automatic postponements, item 42, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Item 43, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Items to be postponed, these are 30-day postponements. We don't have any. Under withdrawals, item number 7, Jan Mullins. Chair will entertain a motion to withdraw items as read.
Motion to withdraw.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under tablings, we have item 11, Millertown Villas. Item 19, R. Bentley Marlowe. Item 20, Dale Akins. Chair will entertain a motion to table items as read.
Motion to table is read.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. We have no items to be removed from the table. Next on the agenda is the consent list, which is composed of items marked with a C. These items are considered non-controversial and are voted on all at once in order to save time. Items are listed in order they appear on the agenda. Do we have any recusals? I'll read these, and I want to repeat that please listen carefully, because once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. Item 2, approval of November 9, 2023 agenda. Item 3, approval of October 5th, 2023 minutes. Item 5, Andrew Bird. Item 6, City of Knoxville. Item 8, North Shore Construction. Item 9, Sergio Almondero. Item 13, the Highlands at Clear Spring, Unit 1. Item 15, Danny Heidel. Item 16, Shannon Harper. Item 17, Jay Patel. Item 18, David Cockrell. Item 23, Ziggurat Development, LLC, Janet Plant. Item 25, Ned Ferguson. Item 26, Nature's Best Organics of Tennessee, LLC, Bryan Development, LLC. Item 27, Ron Worley. Item 28, Harvest Meadow Subdivision. Item 29, Arcadia. Item 30, Ella's Place. Item 32, Dutchtown West 2. Item 33, David Hurst. Item 34, Retreat at Hardin Valley. Item 35, Gary Burke. Item 36, Knox Housing Partnership. Item 37, Samuel Harward. Item 38, Stephen Steele. Item 39, final plat of Isabel Estates. Item 40, final plat of Carter Ridge Phase 5, lots 248 to 269 and lots 311 to 321. Item 41, Trent Steel. Are there any requests to remove an item from the consent list? What's that? We got a hand? If you'll approach the podium, please.
Do you say 27?
Okay. Which number would you like to remove?
27.
Item 27. Thank you so much. That's on. Any others? See any
Chair,
others?
we've just heard via email that there may be someone present who would like to take number 34 off of consent.
Thank you, Michelle. 34. Any others? So we are removing item 27 and item 34 from the consent list. Chair will entertain a motion to approve consent items as read with those exceptions.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent list with the exception of item 27 and 34 as read.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. First item on the agenda is item number 10. The applicant is Keith Foster, location east side of Trigg Street, north side of Chester Avenue. Approximate size of tract, 0.62 acres. Present zoning RN2, hillside protection overlay. Zoning requested RN4 and hillside protection. Existing land use, single-family residential, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Staff recommendation, approve the RN3 district because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. The hillside protection overlay would be retained. Is the applicant present? Do we have any opposition? See any opposition? Would the applicant like to speak? All right, Mr. Foster, if you'll approach the podium, please. If you'd be so kind to state your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Foster, and my address is 2038 East Fifth Avenue. And thanks for having me today, and I appreciate the recommendation to RN3. But when we originally submitted to this, we wanted to go RN4 to be townhomes. So today I'm here to ask if you guys can approve RN4 for the development of townhomes in that area.
Okay. All right. Was that a question or a statement? I'm having trouble
It's a
hearing.
question. I guess I'm here today to ask you if my original application was for RN4, and I want to build townhomes in that community. So in order to do that, I need RN4.
Yes.
RN3 is going to give me some limitations.
Yes, I think we'll be considering that specific request.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's go to commission.
Mr. Chair, can we hear from staff as to the reason why they went with 3 instead of 4?
Sure. Let's see, Ms. Hillman?
Yeah, so most of the surrounding zoning here, as you can tell, is RN2. This isn't really in a transitional area for more intensity. However, there is recognition of some of the assets in the area that would support more residential intensity. RN3 would permit townhomes through special use review. According to the minimum lot size standards, up to 8 townhomes could be considered if the lots were merged. And for these reasons, we're recommending RN3 instead of RN4 based on compatibility with surrounding development.
Thank you, Ms. Hillman. Commissioners? Commissioner Adams?
It seems like the case file indicates that RN4 being requested, the difference there is that it would include low-rise apartment buildings as opposed to just the townhomes. So if Hillman is correct in saying that we've got RN3 and it does allow townhomes, and the applicant is saying that they wish to build townhomes, it seems like RN3 would do that without expanding to include low-rise apartment buildings, which I'm assuming staff is assessing is really not congruent with the area.
Thank you. Commissioner Midas?
Thank you, Chairman Hill. I agree with Commissioner Adams, and I also appreciate Jesse's analysis saying that it is more compatible with the surrounding RN2. There's nothing that's surrounding that's in RN3 or RN4. So I would like to make a motion to approve per staff's recommendation to zone RN3.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Midas, seconded by Commissioner Adams to approve the RN3 per staff recommendations. Seeing no other lights or questions, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you.
Next, we have agenda item number 12, subdivision Middlebrook Grove, applicant developer Huber Properties, and I think we're going to see an accusal, or not an accusal, a recusal. Accusing you of anything, Commissioner Huber.
Thank you.
We'll see you shortly. All right. Location, east side of Helmboat Road, north side of Francis Road, west of Amherst Road, Old Amherst Road. Approximate acreage, 16.82 acres. Zoning, RN2, single-family residential neighborhood. Existing land use, single-family residential. Proposed use, detached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 66, and this will require 2 variances. And looks like 1 alternative design standard. Two variances. Okay, yeah, that's right. All right, staff recommendation. This is going to require 3 motions. Motion 1, approve the requested variance to reduce the minimum broken back curve tangent from 150 feet to 62.06 feet for Road B, from STA 3 plus 66.43 to 4 plus 28.49 based on the following evidence of hardship. Motion 2. Okay. Motion, so do we only need 2 motions on this one? Okay, 2. This is only going to require 2 motions. Motion number 2, approve the concept plan subject to the 13 conditions. Is the applicant present?
I am Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
All right. Do we have any opposition? Is that opposition? Any opposition? Okay. Would you like to, Mr. Mullins, would you like to proceed or defer?
I'll defer, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We are on item 12, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd please state your name and address.
My name is Teresa Ledbetter. I live at 6316 Creekhead Drive, 37909. I have lived with my husband, Ron Ledbetter, for the better part of 49 years. I know this community quite well. This piece of property has unusual topography with the hazards of the railroad on the northeast side, heavy flooding, and stormwater runoff on the northwest side. There are site distance issues surrounded by all narrow rural roads. One road in particular is Helmboldt Road, where the proposed access site to the development is planned. This area is known for flooding. An existing detention pond exists right on the corner of Creekhead Drive and Helmboldt Road. That's a part of Autumn Place. There are 3 residents designated within that subdivision to care for this pond. It is not cared for, it is left alone, and we continually have flooding in the area. The new subdivision pond is to be placed across the street from this existing pond. From this location, it's slightly north of it, and it's on a downslope, so the continued flooding will be an issue for us. I can only assume that the new subdivision will further create flooding in the area. The variances that are being requested for the development are excessive and will place a continued threat to public safety, regardless which plan is approved by KPC. If I were a KPC commissioner, I would want to know the specific hardships of the developer. The explanations that are cited in the KPC staff recommendations are not credible and valid explanations. Where is the evidence for it? Existing issues with horizontal and vertical alignment along Helmboldt are there. Why create a bad situation? Why make it worse? These drastic reductions in variances that are being requested. Item B on the staff recommendation list talks about existing unique road alignment on Helmboldt Road. Yeah, there is definitely unique alignment, and it would create a hazard with this new development, any new development. With item C as evidence that are cited, there will be significant financial gain for the developer with the number of dwellings that are being requested. In item D, it says, yes, there will be detrimental harm to public safety. That's my yes. And the welfare and possible injuries of residents in this community. Helmboldt Road is known for the cars and trucks running off the road and ending up in a ditch. No shoulders exist and fatalities have occurred on this road. The KP staff review meeting on 11/7 reference was made about the proposed subdivision access road is the lesser of 2 evils. If I were a KPC commissioner, I would not want to be approving this request because it will be exposing City of Knoxville residents in this community in harm's way. Why not correct the situation and create a safer development by reducing the number of dwellings permitted on this property, thereby helping eliminate the need for excessive variances? This action would definitely protect and help existing residents who have been ignored during decades of developments that have been added to this area. We've been ignored without benefit of help with road safety. Therefore, I'm asking KPC commissioners to help the residents in the Amherst-Helmboldt community and deny this applicant request. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Commission. Again, Ben Mullins here for the applicant. I want to start, the applicant has looked at several different layouts for this property over the years, and every step of the way he has been engaging with the neighborhood. They looked at some potential small form apartments, and the feedback was that the neighborhood wanted single-family residential. Came back and looked at a potential proposal that had duplexes and townhomes and single-family attached residential. And again, the feedback was that they wanted single-family residential. So we've moved forward now with the single-family residential plan. And Ms. Ledbetter is correct. There are topographical issues with this property, which is the very reason why hardships exist that create the need for the variances. And there are only two variances that are being requested here. There's the horizontal brokeback variance, which is related to the internal roads, and I think staff summed it up best, in their explanation. And also that to offset the issues with this variance, the speed for this subdivision is going to be reduced from normally was 30 miles per hour to 15 miles per hour to address the safety issues with that. Regarding the entrance, and Mr. Reynolds talked about this significantly on Tuesday's meeting. Really, the location of the entrance on Humboldt, which is a minor arterial street in the city, that's really the only place you can put the entrance to this subdivision. It doesn't have realistic access, even though it does touch Francis. You can't do access there, and there's right-of-way issues with the railroad that terminate any potential access to the north. So the only place that you could put it is at its location in Humboldt. Normally, what staff and city engineering want to see is it to be lined up with Creekhead, but that would create a whole host of other issues because there's not adequate sight distance there. So in order to obtain the adequate sight distance, they moved it further to the south, 190 feet. Normally, you have the 400 feet of separation. The variance is to reduce it to 190 feet because that's the only place you can get the sight distance there on Humboldt. Otherwise, this property wouldn't have any reasonable access for any reasonable development. Mr. Reynolds explained that there's no queuing issues, and with the traffic patterns for left turns for both of these entrances, there shouldn't be any issues there. Now, I understand and I hear that there's existing flooding issues, that there may be a detention pond at Autumn Place that hasn't been properly maintained that's causing flooding to the north of this property. This property is not going to cause or contribute to any additional flooding there. We know the standards for stormwater meeting Mr. Howley's stormwater engineering, that we're not going to, the post flows off of this property have to be equal to or less than what's there now. That's why there's a very large detention pond right at that location, because that's going to retain the water as it flows off of this property, so it doesn't cause any problems to the properties at Autumn Place or on Creekhead Road. There may be existing traffic issues, but we have addressed the traffic impact from this development as best it can be based upon the unique site-specific constraints of this property. So I'd ask that you follow staff's recommendation and that you approve it for the 66 units, subject to an additional unit, 67 units, if there's a variance approved through the Knoxville Board of Zoning Appeals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Mullins. Commissioner Midas. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I forgot to turn it off.
All right. Commission, any comments? Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Seeing that this is inside the city in an R2 zone with an overall density of less than 4 per the acre, which is more than reasonable with low density residential that get developed these days, and trying to work with the neighborhoods to not do multifamily, I think I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the variances that are requested, 1 and 2, and the reasons given are the topography of the existing property and the unique shape of the property. Is that
All right.
appropriate?
Yeah, it is, but you also need to address C and D as well.
On the what's written? Read it out?
You'll just need to make that as a basis of your motion.
Can I use this as an exhibit?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so then my motion would be read into the record that we're going to use this exhibit that was handed out as an attachment 1 as to the reasons why the variances requested would be approved by those hardships.
All right, we've got a second from Commissioner Barger. So we got a motion from Vice Chair Uden, seconded by Commissioner Barger. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion, I'm sorry.
You'll want to make attachment 1 part of the record as well.
Okay, so, let me just announce
Yeah,
it.
you just
Okay.
put it on the record.
And then for the public record, we will make attachment 1 as a part of that motion. And
Then, Mr. Chair, I'd like to
Approval.
make a motion that we approve concept plan subject to the 13 conditions.
okay, we have a motion from Vice Chair Uden to approve the concept plan subject to the 13 conditions. And who is that seconded by? Okay, seconded by Commissioner Barger. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. All right. On to
14.
On to agenda item 14, subdivision Western Heights, applicant developer James Smith, CEC Inc. Location northwest side of West Oldham Avenue, southwest side of McSpadden Street, and southeast side of Virginia Avenue. Approximate acreage 28.56. Zoning RN5 with hillside protection overlay, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land, right-of-way open space, and multifamily residential. Proposed use, multifamily and commercial. Number of lots, 5. Subdivision variances, looks like we have 1 variance. This will require 2 motions. Go. Staff recommendation is to approve the requested variance to reduce the radii of property lines and curbs at intersections in a commercial zone based on the following evidence of hardship, which are denoted in A, B, C, and D. Motion 2, approve the concept plan subject to 8 conditions. Is the applicant present? Yes. All right. If you'd approach the podium, please state your name and address.
James Smith, 2704 Cherokee Farm Way.
All right. Do we have any opposition? Any opposition? Seeing no opposition, you may proceed.
I don't have anything for you unless you've got some questions.
Okay. Thank you. Commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the variance to reduce the minimum radii of the property lines and curbs intersection in the commercial zoning districts from 75 to 25 per staff recommendation, which is denoted in the examples of A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Uden to approve motion 1 for staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. I think our staff attorney has something to add.
Yeah, I would just ask the applicant to address the reasons on the record for the needs for variances.
Okay. If we could ask the applicant, if you could just express the needs of the variances for the public record.
I think we've got those listed on there, on the variance request form. The large radiuses for the standard radius is 75 foot, and for this particular commercial development is what we've rezoning it to. We're reducing it to 25. That's what the variance is for. The constraints that we've got, there's a lot of topography on the site, and the roads are primarily used. The ones that we're actually having this concept plan are primarily used for the residential portion of the site, the internal ones, the connection points. I'm actually looking for so the ABCD on our form is the large elevation change across the entirety of the site. The request is unique to this site due to the large grade change and amount of roadway connections. And those are the two big ones.
Okay. Mr. Howley, may I call upon you to get your opinion? Do you foresee any detriment to public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to the community?
Sure. We don't see any issue. Excuse me.
What's that?
We don't have an issue with that reduction from 75 to 25. In this location, we believe that it'll be safe and functional. And in this location, with the uses provided and the general residential district that is abutting this, that we would support this variance.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and we have a second, and I see no other lights. So all in favor on the variance request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the concept plan subject to the 8 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Uten to approve the concept plan subject to the, 8 conditions, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 21. Applicant BB Investment Properties LLC, location west side of Byington Beaver Ridge Road, north of Byington Solway Road. 4.97 acres. Present zoning is low density residential. Zoning requested, planned residential. Existing land use, rural residential. Density proposed up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation, approve planned residential zone up to 4 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development, subject to one condition. Is the applicant present? Councilor Mullins.
I am Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street here for B&B Investments. I also have Mr. Bernard Pfeiffer, who is also here for the applicant.
Do we have any opposition? We have opposition. If you'd like to approach the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Ryan Patrick. I'm at 2704 Byington Beaver Ridge. The public comments I made already, I don't want to repeat. Sorry for brevity, but the public utilities there are not sufficient for the houses that are there. The water service has been disrupted 3 times this year already with main breakage. The water and sewer is not sufficient for the houses that are there. 3 different times we've been without it because it's not sufficient. So I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's not within the interest of the public safety to think that stacking 24 more houses in the backyard of that house is proper. I'm sure you have the intention to approve whatever you're going to approve, but there's not sufficient room on the frontage of that lot to build a 2-lane access road behind the house that they intend to keep and put 24 more houses in the backyard of it. It doesn't make sense. It's not reasonable to me. So that's all I need to say. I'm sorry to take your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Commission, and I do appreciate the comments. We're at the zoning aspect of this development right now. If the zoning is approved, whether it's the 4 units an acre that staff has recommended or the 5 units an acre that the applicant is still requesting, we'll have to come forward in PR zone with a full concept development plan that'll have to address the issues with the utility capacity or access to the property. And I think those are reasonable concerns and that will be addressed as we move forward in this development, no matter what the vote today. We are asking for the 5 units an acre that we originally requested. It's consistent with the growth policy plan in this area. This is in the planned growth area, and it's also consistent with the low-density residential sector plan that is in place. He is correct. There is an intent to maintain the current home that's on the frontage there. It's a fine home, nothing wrong with it. We'd like to keep it. But we would like then to have a small detached development on the back part of the property. And the planned residential zone, as staff recommends and recognizes, is ideal for this. The RA zone would be, you could develop it. In fact, you could develop it at 4.35 units an acre technically, at least in theory, with the existing RA zoning. But the PR zoning allows more flexibility and allows you to cluster the development away from the abutting industrial zone, which is exactly how you'd want to do with this property. But the difference between staff's recommendation and our request is 4 additional houses. And the concern about potential negative impacts from 4 houses is very minimal, but the impact that would have on the economies of scale moving forward on a development of this small size, less than 5 acres, is pretty significant. And that's why we're asking for 5 units an acre for just to be permission to try to develop this, try to design it in a way that would be compatible. If you move the zoning map up, so you're looking at the properties to the south of the industrial zone, you'll see that the properties that abut the industrial zone to the south are the first larger tract is at 1 to 5 dwelling units an acre, and there's 1 to 9 dwelling units an acre below that. And we believe that type of density is a better transition as you move from the more intense industrial zones to the lesser residential zones that are there to the north. Byington Beaver Road is a major collector. It's 21 feet of pavement width, but there is 50 feet of right-of-way, and it's a state highway. So whatever access we have to address at that property, we would have to work with TDOT to get that approved. And so there's likely to be some improvements to the frontage of that as we move forward, which again is another reason why when you're looking at the economies of a development of this size, that a little additional density helps promote that type of development. This is in a desirable location. It's in a growing location. You're between, you can see Carnes High School right there. It's actually in the industrial zone. But you also have Carnes Middle and Elementary Schools within 1 mile. So this is an area where you expect to be looking towards investing in infrastructure and investing in affordable housing that would take advantage of the community assets that are present. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but just looking at this, the difference between 4 and 5 are minimal. The 4 is even less than what could conceivably done with the existing RA, and so we think that when you're looking for places to put homes in the kind of the market that we're dealing with the housing shortages that we're dealing with the influx of population that we're dealing with, this is a good place to take advantage of its location and its proximity to the schools and have just a little bit more density here. So I'd respectfully request that you would approve 5 units an acre. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Huber.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the property on KGIS, and I agree. I mean, it's bordered on 2 sides by industrial properties, zone properties, and of course, on the front side is a public right-of-way. I definitely agree with staff's recommendation to provide a type A landscape buffer that will separate any type of residential from the industrial side. However, I do personally feel like the 5 units an acre would be more appropriate. I mean, we always try to down step, between a heavier commercial area into residential, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to do that at 5 units an acre and not the 4.
Commissioner Midas.
I feel like This property, I think staff's got it right at 4 dwelling units per acre. I look at the property just south of there, and if this is to be rezoned to 5 dwelling units per acre, they're going to have industrial surrounding them. And this property actually, it does have industrial, but it doesn't have any 5 dwelling units per acre or anywhere close to it. On the other side of the tracks, there's some 5DU. Oh, well, yeah, there's some 5DU on the other side of the tracks. So I'm going to support staff on this, but I'll wait to hear other people's comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams.
Just had to think a little bit longer. There were 2 properties referenced, or 2 parcels referenced by Mr. Mullins that have a higher density. And I apologize for asking this at this time, but is it possible for staff to talk about those 2, if they were actually built out to what they were approved at?
Ms. Hanson, would you like to comment on that?
If you give me a moment, I can look that up.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Adams, just for my own clarification, are you referring to the 2 developments? It's not on them. Actually, are they highlighted here? The multifamily developments? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think these are the ones that Mr. Mullins was referring to as rationale for the 5 in the request for the applicant.
Mr. Mullins, you want to comment on that to give us some clarification?
Yes, Commissioner Adams, those were the 2 that I was referring to. And I don't know if they have been built out to that. They do look like they're multifamily. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell looking at the map how many individual units are in each of those buildings. But, at this point, I mean, it looks pretty dense, and just looking at the aerials that there's likely, 5 to 9 dwelling units an acre there from those. And when you're just looking at the map and the zoning itself, sometimes they don't get built out to the actual density because of the issues that we often hear the neighbors say they're concerned about. When you're in the design phase, you can't always do that, but at least gives you permission to try.
Commissioner, I think it's going to be difficult for us to give you an exact number of what these are built out to because of the type of development that they are, because they are multifamily. So, and I just did a quick search, and the case files are old.
So I do know that the one that's the 1 to 9 dwelling units per acre has 324 apartments. I'm still trying to. 76. It's 76 for the one to the north for the 1 to 3 dwelling, or 1 to
5.
Yeah.
Okay. My point in asking is because while they may be approved for that, they may not be built out to that. And when we are at this point and looking for some type of clue as to how is this area going to develop, what makes the most sense, we look at, well, these other areas are approved for this particular density. And if they're not really built out in that way, then I think it may be a bit of a false reference point for us. And I think for that reason, I do agree with Commissioner Midas because staff is including a good degree of density there with the 4 dwelling units per acre. I think it is correct that it's a transitional sort of development beside industrial. That's the kind of thing that we want to see there. But if we go ahead and approve it for 5, then that becomes more rationale for the next development to say, well, it's approved for 5 and this is what we do in that area. So I would feel more comfortable with 4 and would make a motion to move ahead with staff's recommendation on that.
Okay, so Commissioner Adams has made a motion. Did I hear that correctly? You made a motion for staff recommendation? Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Midas and Commissioner Hubert.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. I just wanted to point out, I think we've made this mistake in Knoxville, Knox County for many years. Really, if you zoom in on the topography of this particular piece, Dallas, I don't know if you can find that or not, or turn on the topo of it. It lays very well. And we don't see a whole lot of property like that anymore in the county. I mean, we've used lower densities and had larger lots, and haven't taken advantage of the parcels that are more conducive to allow heavier density with that. And I'm just getting back to the 5 units an acre. I mean, I feel like it's very appropriate for 5. Now, if it was very steep, if there was if it was a ridge or anything along that line, I wouldn't be as supportive of it. But I feel like the majority, or all of this, none of it's in the HRPP. It all lays very well. So I think we should, as a body, take advantage of that situation, personally.
Any other comments? Seeing no other lights, we have that motion on the table up to 4. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, let's see. What do we have? Just here 2. Was that you, Vice Chair? Okay. And Commissioner Huber, anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Commissioner Boyer. So it looks like we have 3 noes. And the motion carries. Let's see here. 22. On to item number 22. Applicant John Sevier Joint Venture and Red Door Homes. Location, southeast side of East Governor John Sevier Highway, east of Conda Drive, 5.54 acres. Present zoning is agricultural. Zoning requested is planned residential. Existing land use is agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Density proposed up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation is to approve the planned residential zone up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan. Is the applicant present? All right. All right. Do we have any opposition? Okay, we have, would you like to proceed or defer? Okay, you'll defer. So let's see here, item 22.
I don't see anyone signed up. They'll just take it.
Okay. If the opposition would approach the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Caroline Dyer, and I live at 429 Carla Drive.
Thank you. You may proceed.
A little over 24 years ago, my parents, pregnant with me, bought a house on about an acre in Woodfield Park. Over the years, this property has proven itself nothing short of magical. In the springtime, orb weaver spiders span their intricate webs between the trees and across porches. I don't know if everyone in this room sees spiders the way that I do, but their beauty is striking. We always take orb weaver sightings as an omen of good luck, name them, and watch them spin their unique homes within hours. But it's not just that they're pretty. We have a symbiotic relationship with these spiders. We allow them to be, and in exchange, they eat bothersome mosquitoes, gnats, flies, and other pests. All we need to do for this gift is to give them a space. They aren't the only creatures that do this for us. East Tennessee is home to 19 species of bats, and sure enough, they pay us visits on warm summer nights, swooping across your entire field of vision in a split second, each bat capable of eating half its body weight in mosquitoes every night. The pregnant and nursing moms can eat 100% of their body weight. Mississippi State recently did a study to answer the question, do bats actually help reduce mosquito populations? The answer was a resounding, unequivocal yes. In fact, scientists who study bats estimate these creatures may save farmers an estimated $23 billion a year by reducing the number of crop-damaging insects and the need for pesticides. All we need to do is give them a space. The strip of woods between my home and the highway has not only acted as a buffer between us and the cars, it gives us a space, for the life cycles of these creatures and ensures that they continue to visit us. But it's not just mosquito prevention. That's a drop in the bucket of what these woods give us. Woodfield Park is a neighborhood of gardeners. Not all of us, but most of us have at least a little garden supplying our summer tomatoes or fall apples. Many of us, however, use as much space as we can for the joy of growing things, and my family is one of those. Every summer, on our little 1 acre, we grow enough veggies not only to fill our bellies, but also to share with our neighbors and can some away for the winter. I cannot put into words how much this practice has shaped me as a human and the way that I see the world. I see myself and my fellow humans in the dirt under my nails. In a very real way, we are the land that feeds us. For our way of life at Woodfield Park, for our way of life on planet Earth to continue with any shred of normalcy, we have to protect the pollinators. To bulldoze these abundant woods in the name of overpriced module homes is not only an insult to the land, but it will destroy the lives of countless species of pollinators, rendering our tomato vines empty and our flowers dead. To bulldoze those woods is a death sentence to the creatures that keep our mosquitoes in check as well, meaning that more trucks will come to spread more pesticides and kill more pollinators. This is a snowball effect that will not happen, that will not stop happening until the greed stops. See, many of our native pollinators are cavity dwelling, meaning that they live in dead wood and hollow stems and brush piles and these little strips of woods between our developments. I've called this neighborhood home for 24 years. One of the most iconic images that comes to mind when I think of this place is the bunnies. There are constant companions here, darting about, bringing smiles to the faces of all who take their daily walks through our beloved streets. And there are always people out walking this neighborhood because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to be, sheltered on all sides from the rest of the world, an oasis amid a tangle of highways. The bunnies also play an important role in keeping weeds in check, although weed whacking is still a task that must be done around our mailboxes and along the curb. The bunnies play their part in keeping the woods balanced. In turn, the foxes play their part in keeping the bunnies in check so they aren't the demise of our gardens. Yeah, we have a cabbage head or two gnawed on every year, but we abide by the principle, if nothing is eating your garden, then your garden's not part of an ecosystem, and our neighborhood is an ecosystem. The beautifully long black rat snakes keep the mice away, and then they return to their brush piles and our precious strips of woods. All we need to do for this gift is to give them a space. Seeing natural spaces in my hometown continue to shrink, with frankly hideous eyesores of modular homes pop up in their stead, is heartbreaking. I grew up playing in these woods. I retreated there in times of crisis when I needed solitude with the trees and the birds' song.
Ms. Dyer, if you could wrap up, please.
I'm almost finished. Thank you. A walk through my home sounds like the wind whispering through trees and the songs of a dozen species of birds. I hope that today we make a choice to preserve that. I want to advocate for the woods to be left standing, but I know that that's a battle already lost to your corporate greed. Today, I'm asking for the decision to be made that only 2 houses are built per acre so that my new neighbors can have a taste of Woodfield Park life instead of having Woodfield Park life turned upside down for all those who call it home already. I want to add that you've mentioned affordable housing, and I just want to say that selling these homes to the highest bidder is not affordable housing. That's lining the pockets of developers at the expense of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Adam Montgomery. I also reside in our beautiful Woodfield Park at 443 Carla Drive. Ms. Dyer has painted a beautiful picture of our subdivision. And she's right. We do have a beautiful place. I've called Woodfield Park home for over 35 years. I do have a contingency with us here today from our neighborhood. I would like to acknowledge them just with a quick hand raise, if you don't mind. Our neighborhood is simple. We are a tight, very close-knit community. We're not opposed to development. We realize that development is what perpetuates and builds our communities. We have one simple request. We do request that as this development is proposed, that our neighborhood is considered, specifically with population density and also with character and style of that which is already in place. We are a well-established neighborhood with stable and positively trending, positively trending property values, and we have been so for the past 40 years. We acknowledge that the development will happen in time. Our simple petition is that, would you allow us to come alongside you and provide input into the development process, specifically to the density itself? We'd also request that you allow us to speak into the design and character of the homes so that it is in alignment with that which is already established. Thank you for hearing our petition this afternoon.
Could I get your address, please, Mr. Montgomery?
Yes, sir. Sorry, 443 Carla 37920.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that it for opposition, I believe? Okay. Would the applicant like to speak? And if you need additional time, I'll give it to you. I was a bit generous with the time on the opposition.
Thank you.
You'll get equal time.
Thank you for that. Good afternoon. My name is Brad Ferber, and I'm speaking on behalf of Red Door Homes of East Tennessee and John Sevier Joint Venture. Our office address is 115 Circle Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. I would like to thank the commission and members of the community for the opportunity to speak about our request for rezoning parcels 124-20002 and 124-20003 from agricultural to planned residential. I would also like to recognize the opposition presented by the members of the Woodfield Park neighborhood, which adjoins the parcels on the southeast and west boundaries. The oppositions from the residents from the Woodfield subdivision center on three main objectives: traffic, density, and architecture. Traffic is an ever-growing concern for Knox County, and John Sevier Highway is no exception. Turning left from Conda Drive onto John Sevier Highway is the main concern. Our initial concept plan shows a new cul-de-sac street joining Conda Drive. This would increase traffic volume at this intersection. The subject property has multiple options for access points: Conda Drive to the west, Arthur Harmon Drive to the east, and John Sevier Highway to the north. As opposed to a cul-de-sac, a new road could be designed to connect Arthur Harmon Road to Conda Drive. This would minimize traffic at the intersection of Conda Drive and John Sevier Highway and provide a second outlet for neighborhood residents. Another option would be to create a cul-de-sac neighborhood with the access from Arthur Harmon Road, eliminating all impacts to Conda Drive. A third and less likely option would be to create a new access from John Sevier Highway. I also believe that there may be an opportunity to work with Tennessee Department of Transportation to potentially improve the intersection at Conda Drive and John Sevier Highway by creating an outgoing westbound turn lane to help merge with traffic. I say all this to outline that the density should be approved per staff recommendations, giving time to perform proper traffic studies and create plans to best accommodate the existing neighborhood as well as provide for our proposed development. Density is a common concern for the members of the Woodfield Park subdivision. I feel like density relates to the traffic concerns, but also to maintaining the feel of the existing neighborhood. The population in Knox County has almost doubled from 263,000 in 1965 when Woodfield was developed to 494,574 in 2022. As the population increases, demand for housing rises. To meet the growing demand, few developments geared towards moderately priced housing offer half-acre lots. The request for 2 dwelling units per acre is not consistent with what this property will support or the need for housing in this planned growth sector. Architecture is the third main concern that has been expressed. As mentioned in several of the public comments, Woodfield is a neighborhood of well-kept, architecturally pleasing homes with large yards. As builders, we must develop desirable homes with similar values to surrounding properties to be marketable. The ability to attain home mortgage depends on the appraisal value of the property driven by the surrounding market. Our research indicates that the market needs homes in the price range of $375,000 to $425,000. New brick homes with 2,000 plus square feet on half-acre lots is not a marketable product in this area given today's development and building cost. Our new homes will carry a value of approximately $177 to $220 per square foot, which would increase nearby property values. The average sale price per square foot of the Woodfield Park subdivision averages $134 a square foot based on the 10 homes that have sold since 2021. In 2019, this property was reviewed for rezoning, and the staff recommendation was to approve up to 5 dwellings per acre. The commission made a motion to approve 3 units per acre, which was approved. Since the desired density was not met at that time, the case was withdrawn. Today, we come before you with the second staff recommendation to approve up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan designation and would allow development compatible with the surrounding land uses and zoning patterns. The staff asked that 3 conditions be met, and we are glad to oblige those. I request that the Commission consider the significant change in housing demand since 2019 and recognize that the proposed rezoning from agricultural to PR5 presents an opportunity to meet the demand where it can be consistent with surrounding development. We ask that the Commission motion to approve per staff recommendation. The question of density should be carried to allow proper development planning and traffic study. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Farber, for your comments. Commission, let's see, Commissioner Huber. Oh, okay. Quiet bunch today. Commissioner Shelso.
I'll move to approve per staff recommendation with the conditions listed.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the PR up to 5 dwelling units per acre per staff recommendation by Commissioner Shelso, seconded by Commissioner Huber. And I will now go to Commissioner Adams.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to speak before the motion was made because this case has a lot of similarity to me with the one that we just heard, as well as the one that we're about to hear. I'm coming from the perspective of a density is being requested that is not necessarily in alignment with what is in the area. When you look at the properties right beside it, thank you, right there, and then across the street, those are not at 5 dwelling units per acre. And the buffer zone that John Sevier requires actually, in my mind, provides a buffer there that is obviating the need for a transitional sort of space there. What I mean is, the case just a moment ago, we were talking about transitions from industrial to residential. And in this case, we have a highway, but there's a significant buffer there that the houses in that residence, the one that's being proposed, they would be protected by that buffer. So you've got a development that's right beside another one that's been there for quite a while. And the one that's been there for quite a while is somewhere around the 2 dwelling units per acre. The one across the street, while approved for 5 dwelling units per acre, is also actually built out at 2 dwelling units per acre. So I actually don't agree with staff on this one and feel like the appropriate thing to do, while someone made the comment that we can build this out to this degree, it's actually not consistent with the area. And we have a number of community members here who are saying they are not against development. They understand that there's a housing crisis and that there needs to be development here. They're just asking to be a part of the process and for it to be part of the consistent development there, to be 2 dwelling units per acre, which I think is incredibly reasonable and shows a good faith to try and work with that. So I do not support the motion that's on the table, and if it doesn't pass, would make a motion to go with 2 dwelling units per acre.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. So we have a Commissioner Huber.
I guess I'm just zooming out again and looking at the general area. It looks like this parcel on John Sevier Highway, which is a heavily traveled highway, and you look at its location from Chapman Highway, which is most certainly it's probably maybe a quarter mile off of a major thoroughfare, commercial thoroughfare. All of it's commercial all the way around, a quarter mile away. You could walk to it. To me, from a density perspective, where else do you want to put the density? It's close to commercial. It's on a busy street. I respect the neighborhoods, and in there, they're actually zoned RB right now, which is general residential. Somebody could come in to that existing neighborhood and build duplexes or things like that if if they took the house out. I think planned residential at 5 allows more, ways to develop it properly. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to take all the trees down. I mean, you can still, keep buffers in there and the wildlife as much as possible. But just from a pure planning perspective, where it's located on Johnson Deere Highway, as well as the how close it is to Chapman Highway, I feel like the 5 is probably appropriate.
Thank you, Commissioner Huber. Okay, so Commissioner Adams.
Just to respond to Commissioner Huber's note of, I don't know where you would put the density. I think the answer is already in front of us in that sort of triangle shape in middle of the commercial, which is zoned for up to 9 dwelling units per acre. So I think there is a recognition in that area of where the density needs to be. And then this is an opportunity for us to help support the neighborhoods that exist there and respond to community speaking out and saying that they do want to work with development and have a voice in that.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Okay, so we have a motion and a second before us to approve the planned residential zone up to 5 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan designation and would allow development compatible with the surrounding land uses and zoning pattern, subject to the denoted 3 conditions. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have 2 noes. Mr. D'Armond. Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Agenda item 24, applicant Synergy Golf Group, LLC, and Ron Watkins. Location, northeast side of Gettysview Drive, northeast of Polo Club Lane, 5.05 acres. Present plan designation and zoning is low-density residential, open space, and hillside protection, and planned residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre. Proposed plan designation and zoning, medium-density residential / office, hillside protection, and planned residential. Existing land use, private recreation. Density proposed, 18 dwelling units per acre. This will require 2 motions. Motion 1, staff recommendation is to deny the sector plan amendment to the MDRO land use classification because it is inconsistent with the surrounding development and does not meet the location criteria for MDRO. Motion number 2, staff recommendation, deny the planned residential zone up to 18 dwelling units per acre because it is inconsistent with the land use classification in the Southwest City Sector Plan. And before us is the applicant.
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for Ron Watkins and Synergy.
And do we have any opposition?
A little bit.
Bit of a silly question, but it was for the public record. Would you like to proceed or defer?
I'll defer.
Councilor Mullins?
I'll defer, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
I need to mention, I talked to legal the other day, and I need to disclose that I'm a member of Gettysview, but I have no financial gain or loss for this. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Thank you for that disclosure. Councilor Forrester.
Thank you, Commissioner. Taylor Forrester, 1111 North Shore Drive, Suite S700, Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm here. I represent several residents within the Gettysview subdivision that strongly oppose the requested sector plan amendment and the rezoning to increase the density up to 18 dwelling units per acre. To avoid any confusion, it's the fine people in the yellow shirts. I'm sure you were able to figure that out. But as you can see, there's strong support here opposing this. Most of you, I'm sure, if not all, are familiar with the Gettysview subdivision. Primarily consists of single-family homes on individual lots. There are a few townhomes within the community. Those are more located in kind of the peripheral sections for the most part. as well as includes a golf course, swimming pool, clubhouse. The applicant is requesting the sector plan amendment and rezoning in order to develop a 90-unit condominium development on the property. This would consist of 3 separate buildings with 30 units in each building. The total, I guess, living area would be 3 residential floors. The applicant can't presently proceed with a development plan submittal on this based on the current sector plan designation being LDR, low density residential. This is the same sector plan that all of the property in the Gettysville community presently has and has had. The request to the MDR/O, the medium density residential/office sector plan designation as requested isn't appropriate in the subdivision. If you look and do an expanded view on the sector plan designations, classifications for these properties, I think it's approximately three-quarters of a mile away before you even get to another property that has a sector plan designation of MDR. That is the property that's the Crescent Apartments there at Ebenezer and Westland. Obviously, that's on a major thoroughfare there at Ebenezer, 5-lane roads. Whereas this property is located deep into the Gettysville subdivision, far from any kind of major thoroughfare. As noted in the staff report, a sector plan amendment to the MDR/O classification is inconsistent with the surrounding development and does not meet the location criteria required for an MDR/O sector plan designation. In addition, the requested amendment to the sector plan fails to meet the requirements of the Knox County General Plan. Policy 11.2 of the general plan provides that medium density of 12 to 24 dwelling units per acre be located in the urban growth area or the urban growth boundary. This property is not located in or anywhere near the urban growth boundary. This property and all the surrounding properties are located within the planned growth boundary. The Southwest County Sector Plan recommends that the medium density residential office designation be designated along major thoroughfares. These are collector arterial streets. Gettysville Drive, where this property is located, is neither a collector nor an arterial street. It's an unclassified road. As you're familiar with the subdivision, you probably recognize or have known the steep topography and grade and slopes that are in the Gettysville subdivision. Property throughout has significant hillsides. The property here in question has a significant slope or hillside. So the south of the property is where the tennis courts are located. That is relatively flat. But as it goes to the northwest towards the cul-de-sac and the single-family residential homes, it's a steep grade and drops off significantly. Based on this significant slope, 2 of the buildings, so what is on the screen is a plan that was submitted in 2020 that was later withdrawn for 60 condominium units. My understanding is that the 90 condominium units will have the same layout, except that there'll be a building where the tennis courts are. So you can see on the north side, there's a steep grade of the property. Based on the steep grade, the developer would have to construct a significant foundation block wall. This block wall would probably be about half the height of the total structure. I mean, you'd be looking at 45, maybe 50 feet of foundational wall that's going to be in the backyard of the single-family homes, and then will tower over them. This structure could end up being approximately, total height of 100 feet in this area. Yep, I'll wrap up.
Sorry, if you could wrap up, please.
Yes, sir. So here on behalf of these residents, a lot of them longtime residents of the Gettysville community, and ask that you follow staff's recommendation and deny the sector plan amendment and the rezoning of PR up to 18 dwelling units per acre. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Mullins.
Thank you. I want to say I do appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. I appreciate the opposition being here to speak. I think coming forward to these public meetings is, and expressing your opinions is one of the most important things we do. And, we were almost prevented from doing that based upon a lawsuit trying to enjoin us from even going through the zoning process. And I'm glad that that was not successful. And we're able to have this conversation here today. The opposition focuses on a development and a site plan which isn't currently before this body for consideration. Now, it has been in the past. In fact, it was that type of layout with the 2 condominium units on Mr. Watkins' property was considered for this during Getty's View's inception in 1994. There was a site plan for something very similar to that was approved in 1999 for 60 units on Mr. Watkins' property. There was a similar site plan that was proposed and then withdrawn in 2020. But we're not looking at the site plan and looking at the retaining walls and we have to come back before this body to do that, depending upon the results of today's meeting. We're talking about the density today, and I do appreciate Ms. Adams looking at the density of when a property has been built out and comparing that. This property hasn't been built out yet. This Getty's View as a community hasn't been built out yet. This is one of the appreciate the public process. This has been an undeveloped parcel in Getty's View for quite some time, but from its beginning, it was always earmarked to be some type of villa, some type of attached housing. And the 60 units has always been considered on it, but in the letter that I submitted, and I hope everybody did get a chance to see it and all the comments that were placed on this property, the overall density calculations for this, it's 125.8 acres that's currently in the PR zone. That's taking out the part that was annexed by the city in the OS, which includes the clubhouse and the golf course. So it's 125.8 units. Currently in Getty's View, there's 250 units. 3 dwelling units an acre, which is what it's zoned now, would allow a total of 377 units. So there is still available density within the current existing zoning at PR at 3 units an acre. And again, this piece of property is one of the last ones that could be developed in the community. Staff recognized, and I attached the email, there was some emails between Mr. Reynolds and Alan Grissom at Cannon & Cannon, who was the engineer working on this project, that they can't transfer the density to the tennis courts. And that's the reason why this zoning is necessary, not for the Watkins property. We can turn around tomorrow and file an application for something on the Watkins property that's close to 60 dwelling units an acre, and that would be accepted. Now, we don't know if it would be improved, we don't know how it would be designed, but that is allowed to move forward with the development plan on it. It was the inclusion of the tennis courts, which was requested by the golf club, the country club, to allow them some additional units because they saw a real benefit to the health of the community itself and in the health of the country club. They want to be able to move the tennis courts, relocate the tennis courts, do some changes to the golf course itself. And these types of units are intended to be, people that want to live within walking distance of a country club. That's the market for it. They want to be able to reduce traffic coming into the community so that people that are members that are coming to the country club, they can live closer to it, a retirement type community. And all of this has been talked about. One of the reasons the country club reached out. There's a letter from Todd Frohl, who's the CEO of the country club, outlining all of the reasons why they approached Mr. Watkins and wanted to add the tennis court property to that to give them additional units potentially to help the country club. And that's why this is before you today. If this is approved, we'll come forward with a development plan. We'll look at what does that look like to the community, and that'll get fully vetted out, and I'm sure there'll be lots of public input in that process. If it's denied, then we'll look at what other options we have, but we do appreciate your consideration here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Commission? Commissioner Shelso.
The tennis court is currently zoned PR as well, correct?
Mr. Reynolds, you want to speak to that?
That is correct. It's also zone PR up to 3 dwelling units per acre.
So the project could still be built on the tennis courts with the existing density?
Correct, at 3 dwelling units per acre.
Commissioner Higgins.
There was mention by the applicant about building out available to do 60 units right now. How is that?
If you look at the email, there was 60 units that were approved on this parcel in 1999. In 2003, they came forward with a different proposal for, I believe, 19 attached units. And then in 2020, they went back with a similar proposal to what was approved in 1999 for the 60 units. And that was always accepted by staff because from the plans from Getty's View at the beginning, the Watkins property was always earmarked to be some type of villa, kind of higher density next to the clubhouse development. Now, exactly what that looks like isn't before us right now, but at one time there was a plan very similar to the designs that you saw up on front of on the board, and that's what the community is looking at. But with the current density, you can't transfer, as I understand staff's opinion on this, even though if you included the tennis courts, you would still be within the existing 3 units an acre, even if we did 90 units on those 2 parcels, because the Watkins property was always earmarked to be attached, some type of villa unit. They will allow the density to still go at that location, but they won't allow it to be transferred to a parcel that is not under Mr. Watkins, that he didn't own, that wasn't considered for that. So that's kind of the unique quirk in this. The density we're talking about, if you look at it just on this spot that's highlighted here, is high density, but when you look at it spread over the entire development, it's still within the current 3 units an acre.
So follow-up question to staff. If they were to come back with an application for a development plan with 60 units on the parcel, not counting the tennis courts, would that be allowed or permitted?
We have allowed that consideration, and we've continued to express that we feel that that's appropriate based on the earlier approvals on the property, that there is an intent for at least 60 units.
Okay, and if they were to combine with the tennis court, combine those properties, would that go away completely, or would they still just be limited to that 60 units?
If they combined with the tennis property into the existing lot, I mean, they could definitely do that. I would probably have to discuss how it gets, how units could be allocated in that way, because it is on plan residential at 3 dwelling units per acre, so there can be residential construction on that site. We just have to probably talk through how, like, what exactly could happen on that part of the property versus the larger parcel itself.
So would it be appropriate to, looking at the parcel that is eligible for 60 units an acre, would it be appropriate to have a zoning that matches the 60 units per acre?
Well, we've already determined that they don't really need to do that based on the previous approvals. It'd be better to maintain the low-density residential land use that's over the entire property. Just recognize that there was the intent to at least have 60 units there at one point in time and allow that consideration under the current zoning.
Okay. That's all for now.
Commissioner Midas.
I guess I look at this right now and our decision is medium density residential. And, regardless of whether the 60 units, if they continue with their plan for 60 units, this would have to go through a process again. Is that correct, Mike? To change the zoning from low density residential to medium density residential?
For the, they would not need to go to medium density residential to propose the 60 units that were previously approved on the site. We felt that a new development plan would be required regardless, which would come through the Planning Commission and be an open public review and an approval process. But a new or a change to the sector plan would not be required in that case. It would still be low density residential because the whole site is low density residential.
Okay, so explain it to me again. That's because it was previously approved under low density residential?
It was previously approved under the low density residential land use classification and under the current plan residential at 3 dwellings per acre. So there's been an approval that says, there was a transfer of density, which the plan residential zone does allow. The current request where they're expanding that area and wanting to expand the number of units, it's the rub that from a staff perspective, I feel this most appropriate thing is to request the density that would allow the units that they want on the acreage that they have, and subsequently they would have to amend the sector plan to get that density.
Okay, all right, thank you for that clarity.
Commissioner Barger.
Mike, I should know this, but is there a height restriction in planned residential?
Let me just verify real fast, but my recollection is no. Well, for houses, yes.
Or whatever they're trying to
for
build.
what they're asking for, I think it's up to the discretion of the Planning Commission. That's
Okay.
the way it's worded in the plan residential zone.
Commissioner Shelso.
I'll move to deny the request per staff recommendation for the sector plan. I don't see how it meets any of the criteria for a sector plan amendment.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Shelso to deny the sector plan amendment per staff recommendation, seconded by Vice Chair Uten. And I still see no lights on, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we deny the plan residential zone up to 18 units per the acre because it's inconsistent with the land use classification in Southwest City sector plan.
Second.
Just real quick, I'd like to clarify. I accidentally put Southwest City sector plan in the staff recommendation. It should be Southwest County sector plan. Just wanted to clarify that real fast.
All right.
Southwest County sector plan.
And do we have a corrected motion and a second for that? Okay, all right. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Uten to deny the planned residential zone per staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Midas. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item number 27. Applicant is Ron Worley. Location, north side of Ball Road, east of Smithland Drive. Present zoning, low-density residential. Zoning requested, planned residential. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Density proposed, 4 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation, approved planned residential zone up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan designation and would allow development compatible with the surrounding land uses and zoning pattern, subject to the one noted condition. Yeah, see the applicant is before us.
Yes. Yeah, Ron Worley, P.O. Box 70515.
Do we have any opposition? Would you like to proceed or defer, Mr. Worley? Defer?
Defer.
Okay, all right. If you'd please state your name and address.
My name is Todd Ryan. My address is 2449 Smithland Lane.
Currently live next door to this property.
Would you care to repeat your name again? It was a little bit of background noise here.
Yes, sir. Todd Ryan.
Thank you. You may proceed. Thank you.
I've lived next and own this piece of property next to the one that's going to get opposed or that's going through the planning of development. My main concern is the community with, we have some new infrastructures, a shod road, a large development going through that area. We have quite a bit of subdivisions, but at the end of my road, when it rains hard, when I leave my house the next morning, I have up to 4 inches of water on my street, which joins Ball Road. His property will be next door. My concern is everything that's going on around there now, let's take a look. And has anyone looked at the creeks, the cleaning, the flow? I understand everyone focuses on the engineering of the subdivision and the structure, but I think we need to take a look of what's around us. How much water is being dumped, what this new road's going to do. These guys are building infrastructure from Interstate 40 to 275, and that's under process. We really haven't had any major 50, 100, or 500-year rains. I don't think it's fair to some of us in the neighborhood without you guys looking outside where this water's going. Let's take a look and see if we could do anything to improve the discharge of the water in the creeks around us so that the surrounding neighbors don't have to drive through the water, is what I'm concerned about. Thank you.
Mr. Worley?
I did have the opportunity to speak with Todd prior to this agenda item coming up, and kind of told him that basically this is just the rezoning process that we're requesting here today. And then I have my engineer here with me, and we kind of talked about how we had to abide by the regulations of Knox County Engineering and the Planning Commission. And so I guess at this point, I would just defer to the fact that we're just asking for the rezoning today.
Commission? Commissioner Midas.
I'll make a motion to approve the PR zone for up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan designation and compatible development, subject to one condition.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve plan residential up to, did I hear that correctly? The per staff recommendation, 3 dwelling units per acre, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm having trouble hearing today. Seconded by Commissioner Shelso. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 31. Subdivision Brownview Road Development. Applicant developer is Scott Williams and Associates. Location east side of Brownview Road at its terminus. Approximate acreage 7.86 acres. Zoning, low density residential. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Proposed use, detached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 10. This will require no subdivision variances. Staff recommendation is to approve the concept plan subject to the 5 noted conditions. Is the applicant available? If you'd please state your name and address.
Scott Williams, W. Scott Williams and Associates, 4530 Anna Lee Way, Knoxville, 37921.
Thank you. Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, would you like to comment, Mr. Williams?
Just ask for your approval.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion we approve the concept plan subject to the 5 conditions.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Uten to approve the concept plan subject to the 5 conditions, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item 34, applicant retreat at Hardin Valley, location south and east sides of Schaefer Road, south of Hardin Valley Road, east of Pellissippi Parkway. Approximate size of tract, 12 acres. Zoning, planned commercial, technology overlay, planned residential, up to 6.5 dwelling units per acre. OB, existing land use, agriculture, forestry, vacant land, proposed use, multi-dwelling development. Staff recommendation. Approve the development plan for a 72-unit multifamily development and 2 duplexes, 4 units, on the planned residential portion of the site as depicted on the site plan, subject to the noted 6 conditions. Is the applicant present? If you'd state your name and address, please.
Jason Hunt with Cannon, 8550 Kingston Pike.
Do we have any opposition?
Somebody pulled it off of consent.
Well, I don't see any opposition here.
This one we took off consent.
Okay, do we have someone online that would like to speak?
No, sorry. This is one that I got emailed right at the start of the meeting and they wanted to postpone and I said, you need to be here for when it's read. And they said they might not be able to stick around for this item to be read, but they had opposition. And I wasn't sure if by the time this item came up, if they would still be here.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the development plan for the 72 multifamily unit development per staff recommendation.
Second.
We've got a motion by Vice Chair Uten to approve the development plan per staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Shelso. And I see Commissioner Midas would like to speak.
I just have a question. One of the public comments, the only one on there, was they asked about installing newer style directional LED lights to face downwards because of light pollution. Do you have any, are y'all planning for something like that?
Yes, the project does include newer style LED with the cutoffs. So they're all designed to project down. And we've also included a photometric plan that meets the requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Do any of you have any difficulty with noise?
It's very echoey.
Yeah, very kind of echoey, I guess is best described.
We can give them
Could
that
we?
feedback.
Okay, please do, because I really struggled with it.
During agenda review, when I sat up there, it was way harder
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah, so if we could maybe get that addressed. Okay.
Really, it's worse here.
What's that?
I sat over there Tuesday and I didn't have issues.
But you're.
But it's harder over here
It's
for
really
some
difficult.
reason.
It's really difficult to
This,
hear.
this is a new system, so we'll give that feedback to PD.
Okay,
and see what they
that'd
can
be
do.
great. We are adjourned.